Wata Games, Ian. We know and love Wata Games. We might have covered them now for like 6 years or so, 7 years.
Well, we've covered them almost as long as almost as long as the Amico. That's something I realized today.
2018 was both years.
Because watching the video, something reserved.
Our pal reserve investment, Sean.
Yes, Sean. Blanking.
How dare you blank on Sean? We love Sean.
Watching his video, he said 2018, which is actually less time than I thought in terms of Wata.
That's when they announced it. Yeah. Going.
So, as long as we've been following the Amico,
almost,
which is crazy.
Amico was a little bit after that, but it was around the same time.
But Wata's dead, kind of. That's the good news.
The Wata brand is gone going forward.
Gone.
So if you remember, the height of this craziness.
Got my notes.
Was I like your notepad from like 1980. The July peak insanity, July 2021, was that $1.6 million Mario 64 sale. That's when we were seeing $100,000, fucking Contras and everything. Where we were just like, this is madness. Tech Mobile, 100,000, a random Madden game. The madness that we said was madness, and we predicted would crash, which it did. Right after that happened, so it was happening around the same time, a deal was being made from Collectors Universe, who's an umbrella company that does PS. They own PSA, who grade cards, they grade coins. I think they do toys. They bought Wata. They bought Wata out and thought, this is great. These guys are making money. These guys are going full to the moon, Ian. The line can only go up on this. But shortly after that, I think the prices peaked around there, early fall of 21. By early 22, me and Ian reporting, prices are starting to go down already. They're starting to tail off. And they kept going lower and lower and lower and lower. Have they bottomed out yet? On some stuff they have, other stuff they have not, which we'll talk about.
Sean said something like we have seen a 20 to 85% price drop on the games.
We've seen over 90% in some cases. We've covered 90. We've done the math on some. Yeah. We've covered games, the exact ones, number on the label being resold and taking huge tens of thousands of dollars hits. We've covered that before. We said, hey, this is the same exact one before, the same number. The point is this. I don't know if Collectors Universe, the parent company, knew all this while it was happening. I don't know if they realized within a couple years there'd be a federal class action lawsuit against them for fraud and RICO and other things that we've gone over before.
So PSA is under Collectors Universe?
Yes.
Okay, because I just want to say, and I kind of agreed with Sean, and I want to make sure that we've got our timelines right here. That the purchase of Wata, I believe, was after already that.
It was after the big sale, the big Mario.
Yes, but it was also after they had the name had kind of become tarnished because
it happened. It was that month. It was July 21. It was literally like a week after.
Well, because Sean was thinking that PSA probably got Wata cheap based off of the.
No, I love Sean by his timeline. I don't think it's correct. It was July 14th, 2021. That was literally a week or week and a half.
It's a minor thing. I was just I had to get the timeline.
The point. I mean, that sale wasn't made in a week. The point is like it was charging up to that point for about a year and a half.
Sure.
People were starting to buy those games up in 19. Remember, I see my conventions. I was like, who the hell are these people buying these games? They knew what's happening.
To that, there's also the thing you go, okay, this looks like it's going to be big. We'll pay for this. Let it run under that name for as long as it can. And if that name gets filthy, then we take it under our wing, which is what PSA did.
So what happened? We were reporting on it. We weren't the biggest audience, but then Carl did his videos on it, and then it blows up about, this looks weird, and it was weird, and is weird, and we ended up being right collectively about 99% of the things we talked about. So what happens is Wata becomes persona non grata. People are literally laughing at them at conventions, walking by the booths and laughing at them. They used to buy big booths at these conventions, and almost no one would stop by. The last year I saw them at a convention was PRGE, I think 2 years ago, was the last time I saw them.
Last time I was there.
And they didn't even bother to have games there. They had a little table, a couple guys were there. Yeah.
The year before that, I think the last one before the 2 years ago would have been
22 was the first one back from the pandemic.
Okay, so 22 is the one I'm thinking of. They had their normal big booth there, and I think they wanted to prove to people that all of the online talk was just, well, like Tommy
Just
used
online?
to say,
Yeah.
4 or 5 losers who are
Yeah,
making their voices known. And that booth was fucking dead all weekend.
Yeah.
People would not be caught dead at that booth.
So by 23, end of 23, at that point, the lawsuit had been announced earlier in the year, and we at our panel that year we were talking about, you know, what if these things were going to be happening in the lawsuit, which ended up being correct. So the point is this: it became, and I hear from people, which get into that, people still are in love with the Wata brand because it was like helped. It was like basically part and parcel, and part of the reason there's a lawsuit. They were, you know. Heritage Auctions and Wata were you know, hand in glove. They were the same entity. Well, a guy owned part of both of them, basically. Yep. So like they're in love with this like collective Wata. It's Wata. It's not VGA. VGA bad. Wata good. So what happens if you're a company that buys this fucking egg now, this rotten egg, and it's like, oh, we might not have known that there was collusion and manipulation and alleged fraud going on.
As Sean put it, a grading company getting into the secondary market.
Yeah.
Which is not something we had ever really seen before.
They bought in because they saw the money involved with it. So they got it on the wrong side of it. Yeah.
A lot of grading things, I think, do. It is the money, but as to Sean's point, it's the turning point for Wata, going from grading company to this entity with, you know, where a lot of people saw market manipulation, was the Pawn Stars episode.
Which we talked, that was a year before. Yeah, which we talked. That's where
where he talks about. Okay, so that's what I think he's referring to in terms of people getting soured on the name.
That's when we had a major problem with it, when Dennis started going on there.
Yes,
and saying,
and that would have been...
And actively saying, not just, oh, this is cool, or this could be unique. Oh, I think it's worth this amount.
That was the end of Wata for
us.
Me.
Yes, that's where it's like, you can't... we said...
That's it.
And this is before that Super Mario sale was probably fraudulent on the surface, which has come out in the depositions in the lawsuit, where that was a planned sale.
Yeah.
And they knew each other. They were working. They needed PR quickly. Say, this is the new all-time big sale, $100,000. How quaint looking back. So the fact that we didn't know that at the time, but we were like, you can't go on owning a grading company and say that I think the game is worth this much.
Yeah, no.
And have that guy, one of the partial owners, who sent me a bunch of nasty emails, reminder, say, I think it's worth $1 million. You can't just say these things. People get the FOMO, they get crazy, and all of a sudden you have a fucking bubble. And that's what happened. The point is this: I don't think Collectors Universe was tracking any of that. I just said that they saw dollar signs, and it's just like, they're making a ton of money. They have a backlog. We're going to get in on that. And then what happens within months and then a year from then? The name is fucking dead amongst the general retro, you know, collecting public, or you say the group. They're a joke. They're seen as a boogeyman, and rightfully so. And now they're stuck with the class action lawsuit. Now, Ian, that's been going on for like over almost 3 years. It's going to be approaching in the spring. That's a lot of money for lawyers, Ian. Mm-hmm. You might know a little about that. It's a lot of money. In a civil suit with tens of, who knows how much, millions of dollars at stake. So anyway, here's the point. They had the rebrand. They had their PSA for everything else they do, the coins, the cards, comics and shit. Why not just roll it into that?
So they did.
Here's the problem, though. After talking to someone that knows a little more of the seal stuff from me, the people that loved Wata because they were speculating on it hate this, because now it's like Wata to them is more valuable than another grading company, because that was part of the rise in the bubble. It's like they are a fan more so of the Wata branding, as being part of. This is why it's so disgusting and sleazy, because like they're in love with the fucking grading company as part of this whole push. It's really disgusting.
People get like that. It's brand loyalty, and a lot of times you'll see people who you think are brand loyal to something, but it's not even quite brand loyalty. It's that the brand is the only thing they like.
Yeah.
Like if the brand ceased, they would not go find another brand doing the same thing. And that's what's happening here. They think that the Wata name means something, but it doesn't. It's tarnished. And as Sean said, which is another thing that I found, I kind of assumed, but it was interesting to hear just to get that confirmation. He's like, these will likely take a value drop. He's like, when a grading company goes away or fails, he's like, and he said, he's like, the one thing I did like about Wata was that their grading did seem very uniform. He said, but once the company goes, he's like, it doesn't matter. He's like, you are likely going to lose value by having something graded by a defunct grading company.
Well, I mean, VGA is still around. I don't know if anyone uses it anymore, but automatically the Wata stuff was worth more than VGA. Well, they weren't allowed to be auctioned off. You know, in my opinion, illegally. You know, there was a monopoly on grading, only selling one graded type of game.
I also think the problem with VGA for a lot of people, and it was my problem with them too before the Wata thing, was their grading seemed...
Doesn't make any sense to people.
It didn't make... Yeah, it was not easy to follow.
What's an 80 silver versus a 90 gold? Like, what? Like, what does that mean?
Yeah, none of it made sense. And so it was... And to me... VGA did feel like a grading company that was like, well, video games, why not? We might as well toss them in. And I will agree with Sean. I do think that the grading, the people who were probably in charge of the grading at Wata were probably extremely picky and anal about that sort of thing. They probably did grade fairly well with the rubric, but that doesn't change the fact that Wata existed to create a bubble and profit off of it.
Allegedly. So here we are now. So you're stuck with all these, and there's people that probably have that speculate on. It's like good old Eric the dentist that, you know, starts a fucking investment fund over old ass games, which is crazy.
Didn't he get like talk his neighbors into doing something?
That was one of the articles that you got neighbors and friends to invest in. I don't know how that's working out, buddy. Looking at, you should have sold 3 years ago, by the way.
Why are dentists all weird?
I don't know. Anyway, so the point is this. These folks have sometimes hundreds of these graded games. Are they going to spend the money? It's $20 each to get them recased, not including two-way shipping. Now you have to take the risk in your head. I'm going to trust these people to crack open all these and then put them in a new... It would make my skin crawl. It would make my skin crawl.
Well, I feel like trust is a weird thing, because I was like that too when you mentioned that, but... I don't really care. I mean, I don't think these people care. As long as they take them out of one case and throw them in another case with an equivalent number, I mean, it says it's this number.
Yeah, my point is
they're not regrading.
I mean, one of the tenets of the complaint of the class action lawsuit is that they have my games now for a year and a half, 2 years.
Sure.
So, like, what would be the backlog? I'm not saying it'd be the same backlog because it's new management now with PSA. But now I got to send these in. I got to spend, I don't know what the fucking insurance would even be to send you someone, I want you to recase, I don't know, $1 million worth of games. There's some of these people have that much.
$1 million worth of games.
Based upon the Heritage Law Sale.
Sure.
You can easily hit that with like 15 games, we'll just say.
Okay.
Of like 50,000 each, we'll just say, 60 pat math. The point is this, you got to get insurance on that, going both ways shipping. I don't know how you're going to pack that shit, how you're going to get it delivered and back. Now it's $20 each. You're talking... people are going to be spending 5 figures potentially to recase these games just to get the new label slapped on them, just to quote unquote make sure that it's not a company that still exists that's grading them, or even, I mean, it's a brand, it's the same company but brand.
20 is very reasonable for someone who bought that one game they really liked graded.
Yeah, it's fine if
that's nice. That's pretty. I think that's pretty reasonable. You're probably paying for materials and shit.
Where's my one Wata game that I bought by accident?
Oh, your Atari
where's my
games?
Where's my Atari Winter Games 9.4? Because I thought I was bidding on the NES game. Yeah, if I want to get this sent back and forth, it's heavy. Shipping will probably be, $20 priority because it's not worth that much. Who cares if it got lost? It's a $100 game or whatever. So, but what if this game was worth $50,000? That's a different conversation. Right. And now I own 30 of those. Am I going to do that? So now you're going to have a schism in the market with the same games just based upon the label. It's all weird because that's how these people think, though.
What I think is interesting, though, is I would love to be in the heads of some of these people. And again, this is another thing that Sean said, but I think this is going to... So you've got all these people, right, who are like, it's just a dip in the market. This is going to go back
up. Yes,
okay?
They're saying that. Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
So they're saying that. And as you and I have said from the fucking beginning, these small games that no one cares about, even if they're rare, genuinely rare, are going to be the first games to plummet in value, because at the end of the day, I always said, a Mario, a Zelda, a sealed first print run, etc. These are things that are popular to people. But pretending these little games are going to, jump back up in value is like saying any random fucking comic book from the 90s is going to jump back up in value.
I'll do you one better. It's like, okay, we talk about this all the time. You can find those comics from the 40s golden age that are actually harder to find than, say, the first appearance of Wonder Woman, we'll just say.
Right.
But who the fuck wants it?
Right. I mean, but that's kind of my point.
That's the point.
And so what this does is it's going to create a very interesting mental dilemma, I think, for these people, where they're going to have to look at these games and convince themselves that some of these games are worth recasing, because they think they might go up in value again. And I think what's going to happen is you're going to have a lot of people who have a mini meltdown when they are forced to look at what they have and truly determine what it makes sense to recase, and they realize that they are left with shitloads of worthless games that are never going to jump back up in price, and you're just...
Well, sunken cost.
Yeah, but right, people love to do that, but that's going to be an internal battle that these people are having.
Well, it's a battle already, because I had a conversation. Well, I did talk with Sean on Facebook over a couple of things, and he did. I am allowed to say this because he's locked into people that have invested in antiquities and antiques. He's been in the business for like 40 years. He's been in it since he's a kid. People's lives have been ruined over this.
Well, that's where I got the 20 to 80% thing from. He's like, people's collections are, I think he said, dropping 20 to 80%.
Their lives have been ruined because of this. I mean, people cashed out savings and 401ks to get into this because they thought this was a natural. I mean, they didn't talk to me. If I wish I charge you $100 an hour to tell you just don't do it and then get off the Zoom
As
call.
he said, organic collectability, and of course games have organic collectability. It's just not this hyped up.
Yeah, the sealed game market, organic collectability was always 1% of game collectors. Talk to Ian. He helped run a store for like 15 years.
Yeah.
How many people walked in looking for sealed games? Ian?
No one.
Yes.
Literally no one. I mean, people would get interested when we had sealed games.
Sure.
Especially if it was a popular game, they'd be like, "Oh, that would be cool to have."
Some notoriety.
That would be cool to have. And like I said, I don't even have a problem with the occasional like graded game if that's just what you want in really nice shape. It's the whole collecting and doing it as
speculation.
Buying it as a thing to put on your shelf, totally fine.
Yeah. No, I agree.
But people don't go out of their way to find that, is what I'm getting at. At Luna, no one, I can't think of anyone who ever called me and said, "What's your sealed game collection like?"
And that's the problem when I get in the arguments with people, or just telling them, "Listen, I've done a ton of these gaming conventions. I've been to a lot of game stores. There really were never people truly interested in this. The amount of people on Nintendo, there was like 5 people on Nintendo Age that cared about this back in the maybe. Like there was no one that really cared about this. When you go to conventions, there's like two vendors that have some of this stuff. No one's searching it out.
I bought sealed games in 98, 99, 2000 because they were fun to open.
Yeah. Not
because I had any intent of keeping them that way.
You dropped the bag, Ian. So they just
I did on that DuckTales and Chippendale too. Never should have opened.
Okay, you shouldn't have done that. Go back and see if they have more of them. But there was a latest auction that happened, and I want to talk about just a few things. One, we have our first 9.8 A++ Super Mario 64 equivalent that's been auctioned off at Heritage Auctions in now 4 years. There was the equivalent VGA 95 that went on Golden Auctions, and remember, it only went for $360, which was a $1.2 million drop. And that's the equivalent rating. A VGA 95, whatever, gold is like the highest possible you can get. That means it's like factory. So one of them just went on Heritage Auctions, and it went for less than that. It went for, what did I put down, Ian?
$175K.
That's an 89% drop from 1.6 million, Pat Math. And that's not the bottom, in my opinion. And I think people see this as hope, dead cat bounce. Oh, this means it's going to go back up to $1 million eventually, because this is a bargain. It's a bargain at $175,000, even though 10 years ago that game was worth $1,000 at most. Like that's the thinking, though.
People trying to justify the $1.6 million Mario 64 sale I will never stop thinking about that.
No, I will not either.
About how
The quotes and
anyone
articles,
could
yeah.
how anyone could convince themselves that a sealed copy of a launch Nintendo 64 game in good condition was worth $1.6 million and not the product of a frothing, rabid fucking market that was trying to, take advantage of a bubble.
Yeah.
That person who bought that must feel like a fucking moron.
Unless they have so much money, they're a billionaire, they don't care.
Right.
Which I think that's probably what happened in that case, where it's just like they don't care if they took the loss. Because it's play money.
To get it up to that level, I think it has to be from someone who doesn't care.
So that took a dip. Mario Kart 64 is hanging around. I don't know how still. That's like the most ubiquitous N64 game, even more than Mario 64. There was a 9.88 plus, which went for 52 million. Like, hey Pat, that's a lot.
52,000.
Excuse me, 52, not 52 million. That's actually 52 million. Hey Pat, that's a lot. That's chump change compared to where it was 4 years ago. Those games are going for 100, 200,000 back then. We're like, this is madness. And then the one game that I want to talk about, you talk about weird third party
Spider-Man for the Atari?
was that auctioned? I
don't know.
I haven't thought about that in forever. I haven't thought about the laundry list of us calling off all the $9,000 Spider-Mans
and then just watching them drop and drop and drop.
7,000,
literally by
6,000.
the month. Yeah.
Now it's 700. Now it's 5. It's like, wow. Matt, I'm picturing all the people staring at their Spider-Mans thinking, what did I fucking do? Anyway, a sealed Scoon went for $28,750. Scoon is a game
that's funny because Scoon is genuinely very rare.
Well, in this condition, I mean, it's very uncommon. It's not a rare NES game, but it's very uncommon. I used to have it complete in box. I sold it because it was sun faded. I shouldn't have done that. Anyway, the point is this. This sale, to me, is not a speculator. This could be a someone with deep pockets. This could be one of the few sealed games they want for their sealed collection. That's the only way I can justify this price on a game like this.
Which game?
Scoon.
Oh, sure.
Like, this could be the first sealed Scoon they've come across in like 5 years, and it's like, I got to buy it for my collection.
Could be.
Because like this isn't like, to me, like this is you're not investing in Scoon. Trust me. Like,
right.
Scoon is not going to go up in value. There's like if you have a sealed game collection on NES, and there are sealed NES collectors out there. There are. I don't know how many there are out there. This could be one of those titles they would have wanted. However, what I did notice on these trends, and looking at some of these, they're random third-party NES games that are sealed. Mm-hmm. You're seeing them, and of course, these aren't the highest grades. $160, $140, $180 for a sealed NES game. And in my head, I'm like, that's what they used to cost before the madness.
Yep.
They used to cost about, you always say, like double, triple, 4 times the amount of complete unboxing. That's what sealed games used to cost.
And they could get expensive, just not like this.
Sure, but we'll just say a sealed Super Mario Brothers, a later one, they used to try to sell them at conventions for $400. No one wanted them.
Yeah.
Several years ago, no one bought them because I remember seeing them. I'm like, oh, this is a later, maybe a one they made in like 89 or 90. That's there, and it's like, I don't want to spend that much on a sealed Super Mario Brothers. It's like, who cares? Like, that's what used to happen. The point is this: I'm starting to see some of these prices where it's like you're always going to have like the 1 or 2% of games that like, oh, this is going to be a marquee title someone heard of, like you said, Super Mario Brothers, Legend of Zelda, even a fucking Metroid,
even something like a Bubble Bobble. Like there's games that I feel like could hold some value, not this current value, but there are always games that I think people will be interested in. 90%, 95% of the NES library is not that.
You got some Bubble Bobble bias, but I love it.
People love that game.
I'm not saying it, but I'm just saying that's not a game that I think people will remember.
I don't even like that game that much.
You don't like Bubble Bobble?
I like it 2 players.
Well, I had an argument if that's technically a platformer action, because you're not really platforming traditionally. You're just trapping people.
It's a single screen arcade game, which honestly should be its own fucking genre. Because I've always tried to figure that out too.
It's an action game, but
games like that, Snow Brothers, they're
like action games, generic action. Anyway, you say Snow Brothers, Nick and Tom, Tom and Nick and Tom.
Yes, Nick and Tom.
My crowning achievement. The point is this: so I think the speculators, especially ones that have been ruined, they can't risk it to say, I'm going to spend $10,000, Ian, on fucking Star. I come back to Star Voyager, which I think is the one the dentist got. You spent a lot on Star Voyager. Congratulations. Like games like that, I don't think they're going to take the risk anymore on speculating. You can't. There's too much they don't know about these third-party games that it's like, I don't care if they come up twice a year. Does anyone else want this thing? Does anyone else want a sealed circus caper? Which isn't a bad game. I like that game, by the way. But the point is, like, no one cares about these games.
Yeah, what it's gonna end up like the comic book thing, where someone who loves a specific comic book character wants a key issue, and they buy it graded, and oh look, we can get this for $100 because it's not an issue anyone else necessarily cares about.
Sure.
That's where you're gonna get to with this stuff in some of those games that, you know, were once going for $200,000.
Yep. Yeah, sure. Or like we see like the random Tecmo Bowls for like $50,000, and we're like, what?
Oh yeah, there was a Tecmo Bowl went for what it was.
Ton.
I thought it was more than 50. It was something crazy.
We've seen crazy stuff that we couldn't believe. We're just like, I don't know. Like, I'd love to interview the people today that bought that. Not to rub it in and be like, what did you think that was going to happen with this game?
No, just as like a psychological study. And it's not like I haven't been caught up in things before, but like seriously, this is kind of like I just want to know what people were telling themselves.
From what, like I said, from my conversation with Sean, I can't reveal everything. He just said, like, people's lives have been ruined from this. Like,
as we said, they would be.
Like, you can't jump into these markets without, especially one unregulated, not knowing how it has operated. Real quick, Wata lawsuit is still ongoing. They're still seeking class certification, the plaintiffs. Why is that important? That's important because the defense will try to get rid of a class certification, because once you achieve class certification, that means anyone is a plaintiff in that time period, whether they know it or not.
That's how you turn it into a class action lawsuit.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. That's what a class is, though, is that if I got a game graded, I may not even know the lawsuit is going on. I'm technically suing now.
Right.
Unless I decide to exclude myself. That's why it's so important.
People get checks for 25 cents in the mail.
I got a free razor at one time because there was like some weird false advertisement about lifting the hair up, which I always was bullshit. You know, things like that. I've gotten checks for the when I owned the NES app because of the Monopoly Google Play Store. I got one for the Apple Store. Like, oh, thanks for the $1,800. Apple, I guess, things like that. So the point is that's a big deal. If they don't get certification, the lawsuit won't necessarily die out, but it makes it less likely to go through because, the lawyers are basically probably working for free until they get a. So they're
the point of the lawsuit kind of dies if they lose class certification.
Well, it's you can still prove it for an individual, but the stakes are a lot lower.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, I mean, if the point is to make people whole, you can't make people whole if they're not part of it.
Sure.
Taking it from class action to an individual plaintiff really kind of, takes the wind out of the case.
Correct. But so one thing did happen that was positive for the defendant, Collectors Universe / Wata. So in late August, on May 14th, the defendant's motion for summary judgment was granted and denied in part. Counts 6 and 7 were dismissed. Of course, my Twitter account's not loading right now where I can see what those counts were. Basically, there were 7 counts in the complaint. The first 5 or so was the RICO, was the fraud, was the claims that for false advertising for the times they claimed to mail in and get the game back. Those were some of the main claims. Counts 6 and 7 were a little more minor in my opinion. Oh, here we go. I brought it up. Let's go over the counts.
I've got them.
Let's just go through all 7 counts if you want.
Okay. These aren't really necessarily counts, but
questions of law.
Yes. Whether Wata and CU Collectors Universe engaged, I was like completely unnecessary.
Wait, we're involved?
Whether Wata and Collectors Universe engaged in a course of conduct designed to artificially inflate the retro video game market in order to enhance their own profits.
That's 1.
Whether Wata and CU's conduct actually inflated the retro video game market.
2.
Whether Wata and CU charged customers for grading services based on artificially high market prices, which was 3. One that I really was pissed. Like,
it stacks on it. Yes.
That one was that. Whether Wata and CU falsely advertised unrealistic turnaround times to the public.
That's 4.
Whether WATA and CU charge customers for expedited services, knowing that paying for expedited services would not ensure the consumer received their games in a timely manner.
That's 5. No, this is 6 and 7.
These are the ones that would have been stricken. Whether WATA and CU became aware that their turnaround times were unattainable, yet still failed to disclose the true turnaround times to consumers. That would be hard to prove. Whether WATA and CU failed to correct their own misstatements to the customers, tough to. That would rely on F being provable.
Yeah, the other ones have to be those are like almost like contingent other ones being true before that, so I can see why you would toss them. They're almost like extraneous.
Particularly G and F. Yeah. I mean, if F goes, G absolutely has to go, and F is something that you put on there to put something else on there, but I'm not surprised that was.
Yeah, the point is like those are almost like small potatoes compared to the rest of them.
Yes.
Where it's just like, okay, this is a minor victory for the defendant, for WATA, but it's like this isn't the meat and potatoes. Like, I can picture, even if they don't get this, like, the false advertising, unrealistic turnaround times, that's easy to prove that, hey, I mailed you my games, I didn't get back for 2 years.
Right.
And that happened to everyone.
Yep.
Like, so, like, I don't think that, I'm encouraged. I know these things take a long time. I just wish we were at, like, pre-trial by now and, like, setting dates for this stuff. And
this has been dragging on a lot longer than
yeah.
A lot of cases.
But we're still at class certification, which is I hope that obviously that goes through. If not, you can still go through with the lawsuit with the few the few plaintiffs in this case that are a part of this, but you want the class, obviously. So that's where that stands. At least it's still going. I mean, Collectors Universe has probably spent a ton of money, obviously. We've already been through depositions. Mm-hmm. We've been through things like that. So like we're into the process. It's just we still need class certification. Then we get down to hard tax.
Oh, depots.
All right. Is that all we got on this?
That's all we got on this.
So, all right. Well, don't invest in graded games. That's what I come back to. I think I'm right about that.